Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. You gotta love our Prime Minister, okay? Jeez. Oh, my goodness. Well, Canada teeters on the brink of runaway inflation, airport chaos, housing crisis, Anglo discrimination in Quebec, heaven knows what other problems. Our Prime Minister is off in a private jet to sign a climate deal with California. Doesn't that just warm your heart? Here's California. Yeah, we're now in league. We got what a trio, right? Trudeau, Singh, and California. Major company, I forget the name now, but you can check it out. Major company has just decided it's going to pull out of California because the costs are so high. California, which continually has brownouts because they haven't got enough electricity, because most of the windmills that they installed are falling apart. But we've signed a deal with California. Wonderful, wonderful. Just think of it, okay? Trudeau, Singh, and California. What a lovely little trio. Oh, my goodness. I don't know about you, but I'm greatly relieved to know that all it takes to make our planet safe, save it from burning up, is just for our Prime Minister to sign a deal with California. Ay, 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 ay. But, you know, all kidding aside, here's one more indication that Trudeau, Singh, and their followers aren't the least bit concerned about the cost of living, sky-high house prices, blatant discrimination against Anglos in Quebec, healthcare, or anything else. The only thing these birds think of, care about, is global warming, climate change. Everything else doesn't matter. Well, Trudeau has said himself he doesn't pay any attention to monetary policy. The new inflation numbers just came out for the United States. It's now in excess of 8% in the United States. It's panic, 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 panic. Whoa, wait till we get our inflation numbers here. Oh, my God. That doesn't matter. We're signing a deal with California. As long as Trudeau can attack climate change, then all is well with the world, folks. We don't have anything to worry about. Our cities aren't going to be flooded. The glaciers aren't going to retreat anymore. The planet's not going to go on fire. Don't worry, be happy. Trudeau, Singh, and California have a deal. Oy, 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 oy. Oh, my. Which begs the question. Are you as concerned about climate change as Trudeau is? Trudeau, Singh, and California? Are you prepared to concentrate solely on getting our emissions down? Will meeting the Paris Accord bring joy to your heart? And if not, why not? I've got a series of questions here that I've never really asked before concerning your beliefs about climate change. Where do you stand on this issue? I go through a number of scenarios here. Do you believe, for example, that global warming is the number one issue facing us today, and that Trudeau and Singh are right to concentrate solely on it and ignore all other causes? Let me ask you this. Do you think that human-induced global warming is actually happening? In other words, do you think there's anything we humans can do to avoid setting the planet on fire? Do you think global warming is real? You know, do you think it's real? Is the Earth really warming? Is there any, if you believe that, do you believe there's anything we humans can do? And more specifically, do you think there's anything we Canadians can do about it? Or do you think that it's just a natural phenomena and we're crazy to spend a single cent trying to fight it? Or do you think the whole thing is just a giant hoax? In short, here are my questions. Do you think global warming is real? Do you think it's real and caused by humans? Do you think it's real but occurring naturally? Is it real and good for Canada? Is it real but there is nothing we can do about it in Canada? We may be able to do something in China and India, but we can't do anything about it in Canada. Or is the whole thing just a giant scam or misunderstanding? What's your feeling here, John? Go through once again how people get in touch with us.
Facebook.com/The Lowell Green, Facebook.com/Blast the Radio, or Facebook.com/Milkman Show. We're also on Twitch.tv/Blast the Radio and YouTube.com/Blast the Radio. In fact, all your show links, go to blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green or lowellgreen.com. Will take you right there. We want your phone calls and your texts as well. We invite you there at 613-413-2217. And finally, email Lowell@blasttheradio.com.
So I'm just trying to find the scale of your concern here. Number one, do you think global warming is real? Do you think it's real and caused by humans? Or do you think it's real but just a natural occurring phenomenon? Do you think it's real and good for Canada? I mean, warming up the temperature a couple of degrees might not be all that bad for Canada if you think it's real. Do you think it's real and there is nothing we can do here in Canada to fight it? As Debbie said this morning, we were discussing this. She said, there's probably a bit of warming. Whether we humans are actually causing it is a moot point. But what can we do here in Canada? We now produce 1.6% of the world's emissions. We're spending billions and billions of dollars ignoring things like healthcare in order to fight global warming. And what are we going to do? Reduce from 1.6 to 1.3? It just, to her, it just seems crazy. But many of you, I suspect, don't think it's real at all. I think that some of you think it's real, all right, but it's just a naturally occurring phenomena. I'm sure that there are some of you who feel, yes, it is real. We humans are certainly, if not totally causing it, certainly contributing to it, but there's nothing we can do about it here in Canada. Or you may feel that the Prime Minister is right, that this is a major problem in the Prime Minister's point of view. It's the number one problem, and that we've got to do everything we can. So where do you stand on this? On what degree? Let's go through it here. I'll be honest with me now. Do you think it's real? If you think it's real, do you think we humans are contributing or causing it? Do you think that it's real, but there's nothing the world can do about it? Do you think it's real, but there's nothing we in Canada can do about it? Or do you think the whole thing is just a scam, that it's not real? How do you feel about this? And by the way, I have to, just as a local coincidence, we opened our pool here exactly 1 month ago today. But the weather has been now it's a heated pool, I grant you that. But I'm not going to get in there if it's so cold when you get out, you're shivering. That's not fun for me. So in the past month, it was opened a month ago. In the past month, there's been one day when I felt warm enough, comfortable enough to go swimming in one solid month. That's the kind of cold, wet spring we've had. And by the way, for those of you who think that, oh, this is a great idea, we're signing up with California. California is leading the world when it comes to green energy. Let me just point out that today, well, at 1 o'clock, once again, I'll tell you, go to IESO. Okay, I'm not making this up. Everybody can see it. Invite you to see it. IESO tells you how much power we're burning in Ontario and where it's coming from. So at 1 o'clock today, we were burning 14,609 megawatts of power. Okay, kind of a slow day. Of that, 14,609, wind was producing 393 megawatts, solar 379 megawatts combined. Wind and solar, somewhere between $8 and $10 billion we have spent on this. At 1 o'clock today, producing 5.28% of Ontario's needs. Thank you, you environmentalists. We've virtually allowed our healthcare system to crumble. et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because we've concentrated, spent all of this money on green energy. And today, 5.28%. Check it out yourself. You say you don't believe the media? I'm the media. Okay, check it out. Go IESO. This is the site that tells you how much power we're burning, where it's coming from. 5.28% from wind and solar combined. $8 to $10 billion for this, folks. Okay, John, what response are we getting here?
I just had a thought. There has to be an indoor pool over at Harrington Lake, and nobody's home right now, so we can go for a skinny dip there, I guess, if you want.
Do you
Oh,
think
brother.
they have a pool of heat? No, I mean if he spent $11 million
I
at
would be more
Harrington Lake,
shocked if they didn't have an indoor pool at Harrington Lake. Come on.
I would think so. Now that you mentioned, I wonder if they have a little private bowling alley there. What else have they got? Squash courts, pickleball
Pickleball.
courts. You might as well laugh as cry. $11 million gone for Harrington Lake, so that Sophie's. Now, I'm not going to say Sophie has a kitchen. So you don't think she cooks, do you? Sophie's chefs. She's got more than one. Chefs have a better kitchen. Oh, oh God, you might as well just kick yourself in the ass. Go
Anyway,
ahead, John, please.
that was my contribution today. Let's go to the listener now.
Yeah.
613-413-2217. Deb is in to say global warming is real, but it's a natural occurring phenomenon. There are so many more important matters Justin Trudeau should be concentrating
Okay,
on.
so natural. There's a vote for naturally occurring. Okay, real but naturally occurring. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Boo Boo on YouTube says, where does the carbon dioxide really come from? Professor Ian Pilmer's book, in a brief summary, the volcanic eruption in Iceland has, in just 4 days, negated every single effort to control CO2.
But you haven't answered the question, Boo Boo. Do you think it's real? If it's real, do you think it's just a naturally occurring phenomena? If you think it's real, do you think that humans have contributed in any way? Do you think that that there's anything we humans can do to stop it? Do you think that we in Canada can do anything to stop it? Or do you think it's real, but a good thing for Canada? Quite frankly, my personal feeling is, yeah, I think there's a bit of global warming. The planet has been warming since the ice age, millions of years ago. Whether we humans are contributing, maybe a tiny little bit, but my feeling is, I welcome it. I think this would be great for Canada. And one of the things that just drives me crazy, they now are like in Vancouver, they're all panicking about the heat dome. 300 and some odd people died last year in the heat dome. I don't believe it for a moment. I'll tell you what. I mean, and they're hiring people to tell us and teach us how to deal with global warming. Wait a minute. They've been living in places like Florida and Arizona and Mexico and Colombia, where it's all constantly much, much warmer than here. They seem to be doing just fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why an increase of 2 degrees on the average temperature in Canada would destroy the country, but Florida, on average, is about 30 degrees warmer on average than it is here in Ontario. They seem to do okay in Florida. Go ahead, please, John.
Boo Boo's in with a follow-up. He says, or maybe she, I'm sorry, they say, it's naturally occurring. We cannot stop it. The plants eat the CO2.
So
All
she
right.
thinks it's real but natural. Okay.
Yep. So Peter says, my answer to Lowell is, who gives a crap about climate change? It affects our wallets too much with this carbon tax. It's a new
hold it,
scam
hold
of
it, hold it.
rich
Before you go
liberals.
for hold it. That come on, get real. Who gives it? We are spending billions. Don't give me this. Who gives it? I mean, you may not, but the fact of the matter is that the government of Canada and of many other nations thinks it's the number one problem and are spending billions, trillions of dollars fighting it. So of course it matters. It matters dramatically. We're concentrating and spending most of our money on climate change and letting other things like healthcare go. Of course it matters. Go ahead, please.
Despite the fact, as you and I proved earlier this week with your question, how many people actually really give that number one on their priority? It wasn't even on people's top 5
That's
list.
right. That's right.
All right. Carrie says the environment will change with or without us. Our levels are so low compared to China's. What we do won't have any effect. Here's an email from Lisa. Lowell
Okay,
adds,
but what I still need to know, do you think it's really happening? Okay. Is it happening? And if so, is it naturally? And is there anything we can do? I think there's two questions here. Is there anything we as humans globally can do? And is there anything we in Canada can do, given that we produce such a small proportion? Go ahead, John.
Climate change is real, says Coraline. It's cyclical, long-term change. Mammoths in Mexico and dinosaurs in Alberta. There you go.
Okay.
So that email from Lisa, I'm not sure if she's answering your question directly, but I know we do have some direct answers coming your way, so hang in
Good.
there. Lowell, as for global warming, Lisa says, I've got mixed feelings about that. What does concern me is the amount of garbage littering the forests, floors, and oceans. That's got to be cleaned up. Having said that, people are people, and they want what they want when they want it. Okay, thank you. Fran says, the whole thing is one giant scam. It's an excuse to tax folks into poverty, and weather has been changing since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Climate warming is nothing but a money grab, says Valda. Donald says it's not here. It's all the third world countries causing it with coal.
Okay. So to clarify, you think that it's real, but there's nothing we in Canada can do about it. I gather that's the answer to
or contributing to it, I believe, is what he's kind of getting at. Yeah.
Okay. Try and answer the questions here. I think they're pretty direct questions here. There's a question of, do you think it's real? If you think it's real, is it naturally occurring? If it's real, do you think we humans are contributing? Do you think that we can do anything to fight it? And the other question is, if it is real, could it be of benefit to Canada? Should we be fighting it or helping it here? Go ahead, please.
Well, let's try our luck with a phone call. Lowell, I haven't had a chance to screen it, but can I get your name, please, on the phone?
This is Simon.
Simon? Yes.
No. This is the jerk. Simon,
No.
take yeah.
What?
Simon's not. No. Simon's cool.
Simon's
I
cool.
called him yesterday. I hope that's okay.
I'm sorry, Simon. Okay, go ahead. Simon says, go ahead.
That's all good.
Simon from old Ottawa South, our old friend Simon. Go ahead.
Okay,
There you go.
What do you think? What do you think, Simon?
So just as far as your direct questions go, yes, I do believe it's real. No, I don't think there's a whole lot we can do about it because it is naturally occurring, and it's been occurring for a long time. The points I did want to make, though, now, Lowell, I don't want to call you an old guy, but I'm 28. You've lived a lot longer than me. How many end-of-the-world crises have you lived through due to climate change?
Oh my gosh, that's an excellent question. So many I can't recall. I remember wait, just let me respond, and then I'll give you all the time in the world.
Sure. Go ahead.
I remember going to an assembly at the Brantford Collegiate Institute back in my high school days. You know what the assembly was? It was a group called the Club of Rome, which said that if we didn't stop breeding, we were going to, we were creating so many people, we were going to run out of food, and the world was facing world starvation. We had to stop breeding. We had to stop having babies, or we were all going to starve to death. So that's back in the 40s. That's the first I recall. The Club of Rome, and with the world faces global starvation. Go ahead.
Thank you for expounding on that.
Yeah.
Now you say Trudeau is flying off to California to sign a climate deal. Well,
no, he's in South America, but he signed the contract.
South America.
Yeah, he signed the contract with California.
Right, but the point being, flying around on his private jet that we're paying for, and until all the climate activists lose their private jets, have these fancy parties and meeting in Davos, Switzerland every year because we're all going to die in 10 years, and until they lose their waterfront properties, then maybe I'll start trying to believe there's climate change BS.
Let me ask you this, Simon. Let me ask you this. My feeling is that I don't understand why we're panicking. If they're talking about a 1.5 to 2 degree increase in temperature for Canada. This would be a great boon to Canada. We would be able to grow some crops we can't grow now. We might even be able to grow some bananas in this province. I mean, I don't understand why we would fight a 2 degree increase in average temperature. It would be a boon for Canada.
I'm going to disagree with you there facetiously. Yep. Think about all the snow shoveling jobs you're going to be killing.
Thank you, Simon. Go ahead.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Simon, I can't find people to shovel my damn driveway as it is. Never mind. Aren't you glad we let Simon on? 28.
I am. Yeah.
28.
I thought that was our idiot friend there. I got to get a word in here for Shields and Pakenham. Folks, the cost of living, you can be sure that when the inflation rate comes out, we're going to be up again here in Canada. It's over 8% in the States. And what I'm trying to say here is that money is tight everywhere. Even though you may be having high income, people have got to watch their pennies. And one of the places that you can watch your pennies is at Shields. They understand what's happening. They know what's going on. They check the market. They know what the other dealers are charging, and they do their very, very best to make it highly competitive, and in some cases beat. As I've said before, the cost of doing business in Pakenham is a little bit lower, so they do everything they can at Shields to try and pass those savings on to you. There's a huge warehouse, so almost everything that you could possibly need in stock. They'll have it in your house 2 or 3 days, a week at the most. Shields.ca. John, go ahead.
I'm just going to put this out there. Do you think there's a chance, Lowell, that when Trudeau sees climate deal with California, he's thinking they get Manitoba's weather, we get California's? I'm just... if I didn't ask...
California I can understand them signing a deal with California because, the mythology is that here is the great green state. Fact of the matter is, there's more poverty in California. Have you seen street shots in Los Angeles and
San Diego and on and on and on? It's awful.
San Francisco. It's unbelievable, and they have constant brownouts because they don't have enough power. There's drought. Whether that's got anything to do with the climate, I don't know. I suspect it's just that they're using too much water. But I mean, of all the places to sign a deal with, California. But you know what? It is just so typically Trudeau. Go ahead, John.
All right, another call coming in. I haven't had a chance to screen this one either. Let's go to the phone. Hi, can we get your name, please?
Yeah, it's Paul from Canada.
Paul from Canada. We've talked to Paul before. We can trust him, Lowell. Paul, go ahead. You are on live.
Yes, Paul. What do you think?
Yeah, hi, Lowell. My thought on it is regarding climate change. To answer your question, is I do believe what the scientists say, and they've done all the simulations. I hope they're accurate, but I do believe we're probably contributing to climate change. There may be a natural effect to it as well, but I think I would go with what the scientists are saying. But the flip side of that is, can we do anything? You were asking about it. What can we do?
Yeah.
And the reality is we're a small contributor, as you pointed out. And in my opinion, to turn our Canadian economy totally topsy-turvy to go electric and so deeply into debt that it's just kind of a hopeless future. I don't think that this is even the best way to have a positive effect. We need to go after, look at it globally. And in any situation like this, if there was any logic to this, you go after the low-hanging fruit, and that would be the companies or the countries that are the biggest contributors, and you put pressure on them to get rid of, if it's coal-fired plants that are the biggest contributor, let's get rid of them.
India and China. Between the two of them, produce over 70% of all the global emissions.
Yeah, no, we should be going after them. But actually, I don't know if you heard Bill Morneau gave a speech several days ago, and his comment. Of course, he knows how the Trudeau inner circle works, but he said they're completely focused on short-term political gain projects, and I think a lot of this is what they're pursuing as issues are things that they're going to go into the next election campaign and campaign on, and they're wedge issues like global warming, the gun debate from the U.S. I know that's not the subject of today, but they're going after stuff that, according to Bill Morneau, his opinion is that they're short-term political gains as opposed to the long-term big problems we have in Canada.
Very interesting. Morneau certainly wasn't very complimentary towards Trudeau economic policies.
Totally.
Thank you for your call, Paul. Thank you. Good contribution.
Thanks, Will. Bye.
Thank you. Good contribution. Thank you. John, what else do we have here?
All right, let's get to James. James is on Twitter watching us, and on Twitch watching us. He says, is it real? Yes. Are we as Canadians contributing to it? Of course. Can we as Canadians do anything about it? Yes. However, at what cost? Considering most of the problem is caused by other countries. We just talked about that with Paul. Christopher, I believe this is the first time you've contributed to the show. Either way, Christopher, we're glad to have you here. Canada's vast boreal forest and wetlands have us as a country sequestering far more carbon than we as Canadians produce. Why not consider Canada's ability to sequester carbon? Earth has always changed, he says. Mike says, I think it's real, but without having China and India on board, Canadian efforts will be useless. Let's go to text 613-413-2217. This person says, I think global change is a thing, and it has always been happening. Canada does not contribute much of the CO2 emissions, so we can't do much. If anything, we can put pressure and maybe help India and China implement cleaner coal-burning plants, etc. Buy Tesla, move their headquarters from California for Texas because of high taxes, and it's expensive to live in California. I believe California is also bankrupt. Looks like Canada is following suit.
Let me just briefly have a brief comment about India and China. Let's keep in mind, please, that the Trans Mountain Pipeline, which is now, 100 years in development or whatever it is, was always intended to get Alberta, Saskatchewan oil off to the West Coast so that it could be shipped off to China and to India to help them get off coal-fired plants. But as you know, the environmentalists, supposedly to help the planet, put a stop to this and certainly has stalled it, as they did with Energy East. So, I mean, the way to get China and India off coal plants is to supplant it with natural gas, which we have an abundance of, and oil, of which we have a great deal as well. But the environmentalists refuse to allow that. And instead, as I've said hundreds of times before, the number one exporter of coal in North America is what, John? Vancouver.
Okay.
Vancouver is North America's number one exporter of coal. And where are they exporting the coal? To China and India to power those power plants, which are contributing to global emissions. So we have the environmentalists, many of them in Vancouver, refusing to allow oil to go to China and India from Canada, but standing by while millions of tons of coal are shipped. What hypocrisy. Go ahead, John.
See, my mind went east, but that's potash. That's a big topic of conversation wherever we're down east. Barry says he was watching the whole deal with Trudeau and Biden talking, and Barry's last comment is apparently Trudeau ended the conference by saying Canada are the leaders in carbon tax.
Yeah, and he was applauded for that. By the way, in this regard,
wow.
Can I ask my listeners this? What the hell is Gerald Butt's role? There was Trudeau standing and getting all sorts of applause for signing this deal with California, and sitting beside him or just behind him was Gerald Butts. Obviously, we have paid for Gerald Butt's trip. We're paying for his accommodation. What is his role? What are we paying him? What does he do? I say, wait a minute. What the hell is Gerald Butts doing there? What power does this guy have? I thought he resigned as the prime minister's whatever the hell it was leading man, but obviously he's back again. This guy scares the bejabbers out of me. Go ahead, John.
So here's how he describes himself on his Twitter. Skeptical optimist, vice chairman of Eurasia Group, born at 3:27 ppm. Priors, co-founder Team Trudeau, CEO at WWF Canada at McGill University. Tweets are my views only.
Okay. Is this what Gerald Butts? Is that what he's?
Yeah, that's his.
But what's
bio.
His role with Trudeau?
Yeah.
Is he on the taxpayers' payroll?
He even says so. Priors, co-founder Team Trudeau. So, he's not even saying that he's got any sort of relevant role.
Well, there he was, and we obviously paid for his trip. Go ahead.
Boo Boo says Gerald Butts is the real prime minister. There you go.
I'm afraid maybe Boo Boo is right.
Yeah, Peter backs that up, saying he's always considered the unofficial prime minister. Okay, back to the comments. Joshua says, yes, I think it's real. I think humans may contribute to it. To what degree, I'm not sure. But any measures we take should be fiscally responsible and make sense. Christy says, I think climate change is a natural thing. Whatever happened with the acid rain talk back in the 80s? David says, I believe it's a scam. There is just too much false information that the media puts out about it. Peter says, climate will balance itself. LOL. Not an answer, just added a comment. Hey, if I can do it, Peter, you can too. Kelly says, the government is using climate change as a way to bring in the Great Reset. Craig says, climate change is real. It's been going on since inception. Global warming, and that man is causing it is a fake narrative, plain and simple.
All
Tom, your neighbor Tom out there in Carp says, absolutely not. There has been climate change for tens of thousands of years. Canada is a small fraction of change. We will always have climate change. I don't believe Canada can and should do anything about it. We are wasting billions of dollars on this natural phenomenon.
That's
other comments,
my neighbor.
Lowell,
Thank you, Tom.
there you go.
Move on here.
Other
Thank
comments,
you.
Lowell, I will package up and send to you for some weekend reading, sir.
Back on Monday.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.